Hi everyone, it's Capri Clark here. I was supposed to be doing a live webinar on how you can relieve your symptoms for autoimmune disease with some natural therapies. I've had some technical issues, so I've decided to jump on here instead, record it, and then I'll upload it to YouTube within the next hour. So it is there, and then I will go back to the basics and actually learn how to make sure that I can live stream properly. So look, I'll just get on with it now, and you won't be able to ask me questions, but you can always send me a message or anything like that. I'll make sure that I send this out to everyone who subscribed into the webinar, and I'll be able to send some resources as well. Okay, so I'm just going to jump straight in here. I really want to keep this to under 30 minutes. I just find that for myself, with an autoimmune disease, I get very, very tired very easily. But I also think that for yourself, if you are actually watching this, you may have an autoimmune disease, or you may just be wanting to get some information for someone else, or you may be in the process of being diagnosed with one, and you probably don't want to be sitting around watching a video for too long either. So the first thing that I really want to say is I'm not a doctor. I was a registered nurse many years ago, but after not practicing in a clinical setting for over 10 years, I've lost the registration. And so although I have studied a science in nursing, I can't say I'm a registered nurse anymore. And to be honest, I'm not here as a health practitioner or anything like that. I'm literally coming to you today as someone who suffers with a autoimmune disease, and I'm going to talk about what's worked for me. Now, that's not necessarily what's going to work for you, but it has some of the things that I have done have helped ease my symptoms, which is what I wanted to go through. So I just wanted to also make it really clear. Sorry, I'm looking up and down. I've got my notes in front of me here. I really want to make it clear that I am not someone who is into what you would call alternative therapies, in the sense of the definition of alternative therapies and complementary therapies, which is what I am more about. I'll give to you now, which will give you an understanding of where I'm coming from. So alternative therapies are used instead of conventional therapy. So conventional medications, specialists, treatments, IV treatments, all that kind of stuff. So natural therapies, just, completely not using the medical side of things. So complementary therapies is more about being used in conjunction with conventional treatment. And that's what I do. I'm very honest, and every time I say to people, yes, I use complementary therapies, I'm going to go through them, but I am also on heavy duty autoimmune suppressant medication, which is also a chemotherapy agent, and that's called Myfortic. I take steroids, and at the moment, I think you can see in this very round face that I have just gone through really high dose steroids for about 6 weeks to try and get some of my symptoms under control. I also take Plaquenil, which is an anti-malaria for the lupus side of my illness. I do take things for reflux. There's a lot of medication that I do take. I was on slow release morphine for 18 months. I've only recently just managed to get off that. So I just want to make it very clear that I am about complementary therapy. Okay, all right, so pretty much I've told you who I am. I'm Capri Clark and have an autoimmune disorder. It's mixed connective tissue disorder, and the reason why it's mixed connective tissue is because another word is also overlap. I have a number of autoimmune diseases, which are really including those three for mixed connective tissue, which is lupus, I have Behçet's disease, which is a form of vasculitis, so it's small vessel vasculitis caused by inflammation. I also have adrenal insufficiency, and I want to make it really clear that there is a massive difference between the term adrenal insufficiency and adrenal fatigue. Adrenal insufficiency is where your adrenal glands do not work for a variety of reasons, and if I do not take steroids every day, I would die. So that is what adrenal insufficiency is. It's a very hard disease to actually control. I've also had things like endometriosis in the past, Ashman syndrome, and a variety of other type of things that come up, and really a lot of it's related to inflammation. So mixed connective tissue disease is what I have. So I'm not really going to go through too much of my own journey, because you're here for knowing about the complementary therapies that I've been using. So I'm just going to really quickly do a few facts here, which is, what is an autoimmune disease? So according to Wikipedia, autoimmune disease arises from the abnormal immune response to the body against substances and tissues that are normally present in the body. So in other words, your body is attacking itself. Your immune system is mistakenly attacking their own body tissues. There's around 84 different types of autoimmune diseases, and that list is just growing and growing as they work out more issues that they thought were related to something else are actually autoimmune. So for reasons unknown, women are more susceptible, particularly during their childbearing years. For myself, having babies actually pushed my autoimmune diseases into remission, but 13 months later, after each one, pretty much they came back again. But I did have a nice 13 months with them not being there. Generally, there's no cure for an autoimmune disease, but there are ways to relieve the symptoms. There's also ways to push you into remission. So for me, what I'm doing is using my medications, which I spoke about before, to go into remission. But I use, and I do use some medications for symptoms as well. But at the moment, I'm looking more at that complementary therapy to help with my symptoms, because I find that that's working for me. So just a few common autoimmune disease disorders are your thyroid disease disorders, type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, lupus, multiple sclerosis, celiac disease, scleroderma, and a few other ones. Addison's disease, which I didn't put in there, which is related to your adrenal glands. And there's just so many, I can't even get them all in there. So historically, the treatments for an autoimmune disease have been anti-inflammatory drugs, reduce the inflammation within the body. Corticosteroids, prednisone, and there's a few different ones, again, to reduce the inflammation in the body. Painkillers, such as what I said before, you've got your paracetamol, Nurofen, slow relief morphine like Natargen, Tramadol, all sorts of things there. Immunosuppressants drugs, that is to inhibit the activity of the immune system, and that is what the Myofortic is that I take. Anti-malarial medication, they're not really sure why, but that often works. So one of them is Plaquenil, this is used quite often. Physical therapy to encourage your mobility, and then you've got treatments for your deficiencies. So for myself, with my adrenal glands not producing any cortisone at all, I take hydrocortisone every day, 3 times a day, to try and match a natural rhythm. But of course, you've got things like insulin for someone with type 1 diabetes. So then there's surgery for people who have got blockages in the bowels and things like that. Or for myself, the Behçet's disease unfortunately ulcerated up quite a lot of my reproductive organs, and I ended up having a full hysterectomy about a year ago now. High dose immunosuppression, which is things like the chemotherapy drugs, but there's also some new ones on the system on the market with TNF inhibitors. I won't go into it too much because that's something that you can research yourself. So like as mentioned above, there's not a whole great deal of research or scientific evidence of what is going to cure an autoimmune disease. So really it comes down to managing the symptoms and stopping progression of the disease. So stopping progression is going to really be those things that I've just mentioned. So for myself, I want to stop the progression. Managing my symptoms is where it comes in of using the more complementary therapies. So I'm going to go through a couple of them that I do. Some of them are actually just really obvious ones that are really about well-being as well. So, you know, I'm going to admit that I don't always do them because sometimes it's really quite difficult to do. So my first one on my list is actually exercise. Now, for me, I used to exercise a lot, and over the last year, that has really decreased due to fatigue, energy levels, multiple surgeries, all sorts of things. So exercise, great if you can be doing it you know, I really recommend getting out there and doing it. It also gives you those endorphins. You know, when you're on a running machine and you're running and you think, oh, wow, that's great. That's what I used to be like. It's not like that for me anymore. I don't quite get that kick in anymore. But what I do try and do is, at the moment, it's a walk around the block, which is literally a 15-minute shuffle around the block for me. And that's enough. And the other thing that I do is I hop into the pool, and literally I'm swimming about, I think I've made 8 minutes at the moment. I have a tether, which I pop onto the back of the pool, and I swim. 8 minutes is all I've managed at the moment. But, you know, I will build that up, and it's one of those things that I think, you know, it's proven that exercise helps make your heart and your lungs stronger. It strengthens your bones. It lowers your joint pain. It improves your flexibility and your range of movements. Range of motion, sorry. Those are all things that are really quite important to me. So for me, daily exercise is important, but I also take on board that sometimes I'm just too fatigued. And maybe that's a day that I have a lot of things on with my children. So I have to weigh up there. Very difficult at times. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to say is stress reduction. And I say this with a smile because I truly believe in it, but I often find it hard to do myself. So, you know, there is research behind this. Everybody knows it, that psychological and emotional stress can set off an autoimmune disease or create a flare-up. And I notice too, the more I get stressed, the worse it is. So, you know, it's in creating that inflammatory response. So what you try and do is you try and keep your stress levels down. Look, I'm so honest with this. I just find this so impossible. I have 2 children, 4 and 8. I used to work and now I don't. So I've got financial pressures on there as well. And in everyday life is just stressful. So I try and do things like, I'd love to do yoga, but I'm not managing physically to do that. So I'm hoping that next year, I've sort of put a date on it to try and get into a very, very, very slow beginner's class to try and do that. Exercise would be a good stress relief for me, but it's something that I haven't been able to do. So a lot of people do meditation, and I think that's fantastic. I've tried to meditate for about 15 years now, and it doesn't work for me. So one of the things that I do, I'll go into it a little bit deeper later, is called emotional therapy, EFT tapping is what I call it. So I'll come back to that though. But I'm going to say that the research shows, again, many people find meditation, yoga, acupuncture, a great one, and remedial massage as treatments that really help them to manage their stress. Okay. Other ways that I'm going to say would be keeping a journal. I don't always do that, but I think it's a good one. Reading. I love it. I just am reading a lot of books at the moment. Joining a support group. Sometimes that's worth it. Sometimes that's nice. I'm not sure how well I find support groups at the moment because I actually find that it's confronting to see other people with the illness. Seeing a therapist, and that's something that I do. I see a psychologist once a month to help me accept what's going on. And using essential oils for anxiety. I use essential oils. No secret about it, so I'm definitely going to go into that one. Okay, so the next thing is getting enough sleep and rest. This is, again, another really tough one because sometimes I'm so tired through the day, but my mind doesn't want to stop, but my body does. So I try and rest. I try and watch Netflix. I try and do something, but often I find that my mind is not able to concentrate on one thing either. So I'd just say that it's a really big obstacle, the fatigue. I try and make sure I sleep well every night, but again, there's some nights where my mind won't stop racing, or maybe I've slept through the day and then I can't sleep at night. So it's, again, a major thing that I recommend, but I do find it difficult. For me, though, I do find that I sleep more than the average person. I tend to be asleep by about 8:30 every night, and I get up around 5:30, 6 o'clock. 6:30, 7 o'clock, and that's because I need to take my hydrocortisone at that time. The other big thing is protecting and healing sensitive skin. I find a lot of people with autoimmune disease get skin issues. It's a huge issue for me with vasculitis and lupus. They are really sensitive to the sun. So I've just popped a few things in here, but everyone should do this anyway because you want to avoid melanoma. But for someone with an autoimmune disease and you're taking something like Plaquenil, which is going to make you more susceptible to sunlight, you've got lupus anyway, it's really, really important. So I'm just going to say the really normal things here, which is avoid the direct sunlight in the peak hours between 11 and 3. Wear I like to say non-toxic, but I'm also going to say skin sensitive SBS sunscreen, 50 plus. I have a dermatologist who's given me the name, unfortunately I can't remember it here, I can put it in the resources later, of a particular one that he recommends. Sometimes I'm lazy and just stick on the Coles one. I'm not going to say that I totally do this all the time, I will say that. Wearing sunglasses and a hat, a must for me. Behçet's is affecting my eyes, so I must keep the sunlight out of my eyes, and I've always hated hats, but now I wear one. And I just brought a $5 one from Kmart. It's huge, so it can really cover me up, and I wear that all the time. With your skin as well, I've actually swapped from conventional beauty type products over to more natural products. With my essential oils, I make sure that my moisturizers are all organic and I use oils in them. Coconut oil, jojoba oil, shea butter, fractionated coconut oil, those kind of things is what I actually do for my skin, and I've had some really good results from them, so I'll go through that. I often hop in to a bath with Epsom salts for it draws out some of your fluids as well. So actually it's something I need to really do today because I'm very steroided up, and I could do with drawing out some of this excess fluid that I've got. And I put my essential oils in there for whatever ailment I've got at that particular time. Say if it's arthritis and I have an oil for that, perhaps I'm really anxious, then I'll pop an oil in for that. I also avoid wearing perfumes, scented lotions, anything like that. I use my essential oils literally for my skin. So there's other things such as supplements. I'm going to be really honest and say that I don't really use that many of these supplements. Fish oil is great for reducing inflammation. One thing that I do use, and I actually use it on my dog because she has arthritis in her knees. So every night the dog gets fish oil. So again, I'm not perfect. I do not do all these things all the time. But I did actually find a bit of a study that in 2016, I'll have to have a look who did it, but it was on female mice. They gave fish oil to, and it stopped lupus symptoms triggering something. So it did help them. So that was a study that I was like, very interesting. DHEA, it's another sort of, it's a chemical we have in our bodies. I have none because it's produced by the adrenal glands, and as I said before, my adrenal glands don't work. I've spoken to my doctor about this a lot, and she said it is one of the natural supplements that she would really recommend. You need to get it made up by a compounding chemist. I'm not taking it at the moment because I'm so unstable in every other way, and she didn't want to add something else in. But that's something that you could always speak to your doctors about or a pharmacist about. Apparently, people have had some good responses from that. That's more my friends telling me and the doctors telling me. Vitamin D, take every day. I take that for my bones because I take steroids. So it's good anyway because they often find, when I say they, I really should quote the references, sorry, but some research I have actually looked at has said that many people with autoimmune disease have a deficiency in vitamin D. I know that I did have a deficiency in vitamin D before I started taking the supplements. So I take supplements every day. So that's when I do. And again, another thing that a lot of people tell me about is taking turmeric. So I've been trying to do it the natural way, putting turmeric powder into lattes and things like that. It's not working for me because I don't like the taste. Again, my dog has turmeric every single day to help with her arthritis, and I can see great changes in her. So I'm just going to go out and buy the turmeric in the tablet form and take that because that's going to be easier. Okay, I've done a little bit here on treating pain and inflammation naturally as well. So these are things that I use a little bit more. One is the essential oils and aromatherapy. I've already mentioned that. Everyone who knows me knows I'm really into essential oils and aromatherapy. I got into essential oils when I was studying a diploma in massage. Aromatherapy is a component of that. I knew that I was really resonating with this information I was getting from this course, And then I started to research into essential oils. So I was looking for a therapeutic grade. I was not going to go to the chemist or to the cheap shop and buy some oils and slap them on me, or anything like that. I wanted good quality oils, and that was my absolute bottom line. So I was lucky that my next door neighbour actually mentioned to me that she had a friend who did these doTERRA oils. I looked it up. I looked up the doTERRA oils. I could see there was different views on them, but what I could see the most was about the company and their grading, their therapeutic levels, that they had doctors who were doing this research, that they had chemists in there, pharmacists in there, everything to research how to do this. Now, the other thing that I really liked about this particular company was their co-impact sourcing, and the fact that they had a charity, and when they do their co-impact sourcing, they get the essential oil derivatives from the actual country that they're from, and so they're helping communities. Anybody who knows me is very understanding, coming from the healthcare background, working in unions, working for law firms, all that sort of stuff. I'm really into charities. I'm really into companies that help the people that they're supposed to and don't take advantage. So pretty much, my friend then came around. She brought me the top 10 oils. She left them here. She said, hey, have fun, go ahead, do whatever you want with them. I went off and researched what I could use them for, and I had some really quick wins. Quick wins for me were, I was suffering terrible nausea, and I was taking ondansetron, only thing that would work. Ondansetron is hugely expensive. It's like $3 a tablet. You get 8 tablets. You're supposed to take them. And to be honest, it's not really working that well for me anymore. So I just went, great, I'm going to try this Digestin. Blech, didn't like it at all. That's exactly how I still feel about it now. It made me feel worse. So I went, okay, what else can I do? And I went with peppermint. Straight peppermint, stuck it under my tongue. Pretty hot. So then I started drinking it, and I started putting it into a capsule, and I started lathering it on myself. Straight away, I was noticing inhaling it, anything like that, was helping me with the nausea. Huge quick win. The second quick win that I had was one of the oils called Ice Blue. So what I did was mix it up with grapeseed oil, and I literally started rubbing it onto my joints that were sore. I noticed pretty much straight away that I was getting an effect from that. It was helping me. Again, though, I noticed that I had to take it all the time, rub it on myself all the time. So like every 2 to 3 hours, I was rubbing this concoction onto myself, but really noticing the difference, and also started to stick the Ice Blue into the bath with the Epsom salts, and that made a huge difference to me as well. My joints would ease up and I could move around. So the other one was, she gave me something called Balance and Lavender. So I popped those into a diffuser that she lent me as well. And that was about trying to balance myself out a little bit. And I found that they kept me quite calm. So really, like I said, quick wins. Since then, I went on to just buy a home essentials kit straight away. I could see how they helped. And then since then, I've used a lot more oils for my symptoms and what's happened with them. So I will go into that a little bit later, or if I don't have time today, I will do another webinar with exactly what I use. The other things that I just wanted to say is that I use massage therapy because it can help reduce your stress, your muscle stiffness, your soreness and your swelling, but you must be careful with massage. I've been to some shocker therapists out there who have literally not listened to anything I've said and have just pummeled me. Autoimmune disease is about inflammation. You do not want to stir that up. So if you're going for a massage, you need to find someone who is going to understand what your body is, what it's going to react to. I particularly like connective tissue massage. I go to a practitioner who is very understanding, and to be honest, it's a very powerful process for me, and she's so soft and it really helps me. But I would never recommend just booking a massage. It just doesn't work like that. Myself, I'm still doing my diploma, but I have a lot of people with MS coming to see me, different kinds of chronic disease, and I am very, very gentle with them. They often say to me, oh no, you can go harder than that. And I'm like, no, actually this treatment is about very softly looking at your connective tissue, working with your body and what your body needs are to bring about wellness, which is not about just giving someone a pummeling, which has honestly really hurt me in the past. The other thing I do is tapping. I mentioned before, it's emotional freedom techniques. So it's relatively new discovery. It's around acupuncture. It's around psychology. It's around, I'm trying to have a look at it, referred to as psychology acupressure. So the technique works by releasing blockages within the energy system, which are the source of emotional intensity and discomfort. So I might go, that's probably a whole webinar in itself, and I can see I've got about 5 minutes left. So I might do another one on that. I try and do it daily, but it doesn't always happen. But literally, it takes me about 5 minutes to do a day. And to me, that actually helps me a lot more than something like meditation, which I've mentioned before, I find quite hard. So I think, look, what you probably want to hear is some of the information on the oils here as well. Again, that's a whole other webinar because it's huge. I mean, these are my paperwork just for that one. So I'm going to do a really quick 5 minutes, next 5 minutes on things to look out for with the essential oils. And again, I'm going to say that I'm not a I'm not speaking from a point of view of a health practitioner here. I'm speaking from my own experiences. And I would never suggest that you use essential oils without speaking to your medical practitioner, your specialist, your GPs, someone else first. Okay? If you're going to add them in, then you're adding them in, and anyone who's treating you needs to know what they're doing. Okay, so I'm just having a quick look what I actually wrote down here. The thing about the essential oils is some of them are immune boosting and some of them are immune stimulating, and some of them are immune soothing. So for me, I have done quite a bit of research into what's what, and I do have a good list here of actually what are more stimulating and what are more supporting. But in saying that, I still use some of those stimulating oils because that may be helping me at the time. But what I do is when I do that, I go slow. If it's an immune stimulating oil, I go slowly as I start to use it, just to make sure that it's not going to overstimulate. And I might use it for 3 or 4 days and see how I'm feeling. If I'm getting a increase in symptoms, I would bring it down a notch or maybe even stop it. So I think that is its whole other webinar. I think what I'll do today is just quickly tell you some of the ones that I'm just going to run through a quick list of what I do all day, every day. That gives you an idea of how much I'm using my oils, and then just give you a little bit of information on that, because again, I can see I've got 2 minutes to go. So this is how I start my day. Aroma Touch is a blend from doTERRA. I put a few drops in the bottom of the shower to start my day, usually just to help me relax from starting up. I know the day's going to be busy with kids and stuff like that. I wash my hair probably once a week with my doTERRA shampoo and conditioner, and I've changed to that because I'm changing, like I said, my body products to more natural things. Okay, so then for my moisturizer, I get the doTERRA moisturizer. So it's got no additives or preservatives in it. But what I've mixed into that, I've created my own moisturizer with lavender, frankincense, geranium, and blue tansy. Now, all of those are around the skin. And I have to say, it's another quick win for me. This actually happened quite quickly, that I started using this about 6 months ago. And I noticed the vasculitis going from my skin within about 5 weeks. Now, at the same time, I started a drug called azathioprine. So I was unable to tell, had the drug started to work or was it the essential oils working? So for a long time, I was never saying that this actually was helping. However, the azathioprine failed about 2 months ago. And when I went to the specialist, he said, azathioprine has failed. It's a treatment failure. It's off the list now. And there were certain signs and symptoms that allowed him to see that. So I'm actually going to go back and say that I firmly believe that my moisturizer that I made with that lavender, frankincense, geranium, and blue tansy is what has kept the vasculitis on my legs at bay. I can always show you some before and after photos if you want to see that. it's big, huge welts over my legs and bruises, and they have these funny little patterns to them. Right, I've got to keep going. So, ice blue, I've already mentioned, in the bath or rubbing into the joints, but I also put frankincense into that because frankincense is an anti-inflammatory. Frankincense is said to be an anti-inflammatory and have anti-inflammatory properties. I then put the blend of the day into my aromatherapy necklace. Today I have lavender piece, and to be honest, that's often what I put in there because it's a calming oil. The other one that I put in there is the peppermint. If I'm feeling particularly nauseous, put peppermint in this so I can sit and sniff it all day. So every day I do that. Claricalm, been using that a lot over the last week. Had a bit of a meltdown last week with the whole adjusting to chronic illness. Claricalm, I literally put aside my other oils for the week because it wasn't really helping me calm down. I started rubbing the Claricalm on me, literally all over my neck, and sniffing it, and I even stuck some in the diffuser and diffused it, and I have found that calmed me down. I put a whole heap on before I started this webinar because I was concerned about the IT glitches that I was going to have and did have. So that's definitely come into it. Claricalm is all around the hormones. Now, I am menopausal, from surgical menopausal, but it's often used for every month, people who are having monthly issues but wanting to balance out their hormones. So it's helping me. Okay, then I go into the kitchen and I start up with my capsule of the day, which I put Smart and Sassy in it to kickstart my metabolism. I put peppermint in it for the nausea. I put copaiba, I can never say that word, and frankincense in it for the pain and inflammation. So I have that every morning. I put peppermint in my drink bottle to drink throughout the day. We've got doTERRA hand washes that we use throughout the day. I've got my own homemade fabric softeners that I use when I do the washing, which are Epsom salts, baking powder, and whatever oils I'm feeling like. Usually it's tea tree, lemon, lavender. If I'm studying or working or doing something, I use Intune, roll it along behind my ears, and that is to just help me concentrate a little bit more. I've got the peppermint touch in my bag, so if I'm feeling really nauseous, I can rub that on when I'm out and about. I have something called an Owie spray, which I have created up, which is lavender, frankincense, and tea tree. It's in a spray, it's in my purse. It's for if any of my kids get a cut or anything like that. Pop it on them. I've got Terra Armor spray. Again, I've made it up myself from the oils, and that's for mosquito bites. I really hate mosquito bites because they carry a lot of diseases, so I'm really onto that one. We diffuse oils throughout the day. At the moment, I've got geranium and bergamot running through. Oil for self-love, oil for self-acceptance, something I'm needing at the moment. I often use Manuka essential oil for when I'm tapping, so I pop it behind my ears so I can smell it while I'm doing my tapping. It's my time for my space. I'm just going to say, look, at the end of the day, I'm always putting on the diffuser. It depends on what I'm needing that day. I change it around depending on my needs. Could be emotional, but usually it's for sleep. So we usually have marjoram, lavender, lavender piece, juniper berry, anything like that in there. And also my husband and I both put vetiver and lavender piece on our feet to help us sleep at night. So that list is pretty much endless, but that's what I use, and probably a lot more, and I'll keep remembering them. So really quickly, I've already gone over. So what I'm going to say is I will, if you send me an email or a message, email address is contact at innovativelifesolutions.com.au. I'm on Facebook. I'll post it all in here so you can see them. And my website is www.innovativelifesolutions.com.au. You can have a look there. If you want to get hold of any of the oils, then contact me, send me a message, whatever you want to do, and I will talk you through it and explain to you how you can purchase doTERRA essential oils. Or if you've actually come on this and watching this because one of your doTERRA friends has recommended it, go back to them because they can actually show you what to do as well. So that's it, guys. I've gone to 35 minutes. I'm really sorry it wasn't live, but I'll pop this up. I hope you've enjoyed it. I would appreciate any comments. And I will continue to pop some more videos up as I go along. But thank you very much for listening. Okay, bye.